China's Xi Jinping has met his Russian counterpart, Vladimir Putin, in Moscow. The trip makes Xi the first leader to meet the Russian president since the International Criminal Court issued an arrest warrant. Sky's Diana Magnay reports from Moscow.
This is a massive show of support from the Chinese leader that he comes to Moscow 1 year after this war in Ukraine, that the International Criminal Court indictment literally means nothing to him. Bear in mind, he's also accused, not under international law, but accused of crimes against humanity in his own country against the Uyghur people. And that doesn't particularly bother him either. But yes, that he should come here just after he's been re-elected to a third term, spend today in informal talks with the Russian president, and tomorrow there will be the formal talks which will go over the whole range of economic and trade ties, which, of course, have become a lot stronger since Vladimir Putin invaded Ukraine, because Russia is so much more dependent on China, given its isolation elsewhere in the world. You know, there was sort of mutual backslapping in the opening comments between the two leaders today. Xi Jinping was telling Russia that he was grateful, Putin, that he was grateful for Russia's support, that he was sure that the Russian people would back Vladimir Putin in the election in 2024, not that they'll really have many other choices. And Vladimir Putin telling him that he was envious of China's tremendous economic success over the last 10 years. I think that the West will be watching very closely to see whether we get any indication on this suggestion that China might provide military support for Russia, beyond perhaps just some dual-use technology which seems to be trickling through, but not in particularly large numbers. I would be surprised if we see any announcements on that. That would definitely polarize the international world order at a time when especially Xi Jinping wants to maintain adequate, at least, economic ties with partners in Europe and elsewhere around the world. But I think it is a very significant moment to see these two men, the world's most prominent autocrats, let's put it this way, meeting together. Xi Jinping has not condemned Russia's war in Ukraine. His peace proposals would effectively just freeze the war as it is, and Vladimir Putin shows no sign of withdrawing from those 4 territories which he claims as his own, as evidenced by the fact that he was this weekend in Mariupol doing a tour of this city that, thanks to him, was essentially razed to the ground.
And following the meeting, the US Secretary of State Antony Blinken questioned both China and Russia's true motives for any possible peace talks.
That President Xi is traveling to Russia days after the International Criminal Court issued an arrest warrant for President Putin suggests that China feels no responsibility to hold the Kremlin accountable for the atrocities committed in Ukraine, and instead of even condemning them, it would rather provide diplomatic cover for Russia to continue to commit those very crimes.